Welcome back with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow on MSME Dialogues, and we're talking about how corporate India can work effectively with the government to ensure its role of Swachh Bharat and what really the opportunity is for the MSME space. Just before we took a break, we were talking about how developers like yourself are working in the area of waste management. But Mr. Jain, how do you think the government can work with developers like Native Screens, like Joji, to ensure that A, they're being compensated for the initiative they're taking on their own, and two, to ensure there are more developers or more corporates who are taking active roles when it comes to waste management?
There's a lot of scope for PPP, as has been pointed out. And there has to be a lot of very close cooperation with the municipalities. Because if you take a PPP model, which ultimately, let's say, is in charge of collecting all the waste from a city like, let's say, Lucknow, for example, and then transporting it, and then converting it, removing the recyclables, and then converting the balance into a card, which can be this organic manure, which can replace the inorganic manures. It will work as a fertilizer. Unless the municipality commits and actually supplies that number of trucks full of the solid waste every day, the unit will not work. There would the government's role would come in that they must support the PPP. It's not enough to sign an MOU. It has to be a continuous process. I feel that's a very important issue which must be taken care of.
My thought is that the transporting the domestic waste to a different location and segregating and processing it probably won't be the right solution. And the current thought process of the government is to get it processed in the complex itself, the colony itself. That is what we are trying to do. But yeah, that need more technology support and more service providers. We are lacking that. That's a great opportunity for new players to come and fill that vacuum.
Sure. So you're saying there is clearly an opportunity for startups, small companies, MSMEs, SMEs. But one thing that I'm sort of picking up is that funding also is becoming a bit of an issue if these smaller companies are to go ahead and be effective. Sitting where you are, what are companies telling you? Do you see enough interest as far as funding into these organizations go?
Sure. So I think if you try and capture the discussion so far, there's been a social need which has been highlighted by the government. There's a policy which has been in framework. I think what Mr. Jain has been highlighting is that there's enough thought being given to sort of putting it all together. But actually, neither the developer nor the government's gonna execute it. That's not their business. Business is that you need participation from private sector. And essentially, in this category, it would be MSME because it's a fairly large micro operations that you're looking at. So you need a lot of micro SMEs participation in this. What I think you rightly highlighted is that the corporate CSR fund, the government funds, all would come in as a funding opportunity. And I think we need an economic framework apart from the policy that has been laid out. How does that fund eventually go down to the right people? How do we create an industry out of which wherein people want to participate and have economic viability out of it? And I think it's to a large extent been branded as a social change. I think you need to make an economic framework of it. And I clearly see that direction being taken, but there's a lot to be done. So I think funding won't be a problem once you're able to sort of cap the opportunity. Like we are speaking about $13 billion industry opportunity. Now, all we need is to sort of put the right kind of channel to reach out to these participants.
Dr. Sahu, would you agree that we are really in the need of an economic framework because there's clearly an opportunity as far as MSMEs and SMEs go. But what we need is a framework that's put into place to ensure effective participation on the part of these companies.
Well, before this, I want to react to whatever our friends they have commented on this. You see, you are talking about the biodegradable waste converting to compost and is an alternate manure for the agriculture then the chemical. Understand? It's fine. But for example, Bombay or Delhi, then we generate about 8 to 9,000 tons per day of the waste. Out of that, 50% is the biodegradable, and suppose we convert into compost, is about 3 to 4,000 tons per day. Compost will be generated. Fine. Who is going to take? Nobody will take if you give them free of cost also. Look, I am in this field since 76. I know because the transport cost is so high. It is much more than your compost value of the compost. Who is going to take it? Number one. Number two, the compost what we are generating, from this street waste and other waste, the mixed waste, the biodegradable waste, and it is not to the mark. The NPK value, which is the real, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium value, as per the compost is required, the composition is not to the mark. So today, whatever the compost is being converted from this solid waste, okay, there is no taker. Let me tell you one thing. Secondly, I want to comment on PPP, that is public-private partnership. Till today, none of the PPP projects in solid waste is successful. Most of the PPP projects are in arbitration. Why? Because there is so many lacunae. Even the contractors, they do not understand the moment they take the tender, the condition has to be properly read out. Otherwise, after 2 3 years, they feel a lot of problems. They cannot collect the money for operation. Then they leave the site. Secondly, yes, government has to, put economy, money. The money has to be, that's very important for in this Swachh Bharat thing, especially for this municipal solid waste. Instead of this compost plant, why not we have a decentralized biomethanation plant? All this biodegradable waste, it will generate methane gas that can be supplied through pipe. And after generation of the methane gas, whatever the slurry comes out, that is a very good manure. The government has to identify the real experts in this field.
Dr. Sahu, quite a few responses coming in from a panel here in Delhi.
Because we don't have technology, because we never thought it is necessary for us to think of ways and means of using this waste into productive means. We are saying we should not do anything about it. That is not I'm agreeing to. What I say is the state responsibility to do more research on this, bring in more technology into it so that this can be more effectively used, this manuals. I'm not disagreeing with you for different technology to use, create gases and other things. But immediate, what have next, Credai Cochin has done a wonderful thing. They have created localized composting and gas generation units at every complex. Use the Indian manual for the horticultural requirement of the complex at the nearby places. And they are created zero waste complexes there in Cochin. If at local level they were able to succeed, it can be replicated many places. I'm not saying that is going to solve the entire problem of the country or the cities like Bombay and Delhi. We need to think of ways and means and technology to deal with that. But that should not be an excuse for no doing anything right now.
I think if I can respond, the learnings would not come from the sector. By now we know that the sector behaves in a certain manner and there are certain perceptions being made. But if you pick up learning from other sectors like education, healthcare, they were having similar kind of discussions being taking place a decade back. What really brought the change was innovation at the ground. Innovation cannot be at the top. It has to be bottom up. It cannot be top down, is my view on it. Now, how do you do that? We are speaking about innovation in business models. We are talking about technology being introduced at the innovation level. I think Mr. Jain spoke about viability gap, and that's the funding level which we are talking about. And I think that's really a huge opportunity. So if you asked me about the thought that what's happening, I think waste management would see the largest number of startups, probably from a market opportunity. But it has to be marketed, and there has to be some kind of a initiation which is done. I think what you're doing is a great thing. It kind of reaches out to people and say there is an opportunity. Where there is an opportunity, I think we've got enough smart people who would find viability as well as means to operate
it. Started happening?
It started happening. I think government. I compliment this government for bringing up at least issues which are relevant. I think where it's failed, and it will fail for a country as large as us, because we've got only two ways to do it. One, we create a policy, or we create a policing. These are two things which we do. I mean, he can best be given a notice to say that, you gotta have this thing done. But that's not his business. He will not go the last mile to create innovation to make it viable.
Sure.
So I think what we're doing, what we're saying is great. What I can forecast, if at all, is that you'll see a lot of participation from the startup.
To add to that, and also what comment on what he said. He mentioned about the biomethanation plant. It's a very, very good model. I've seen the technology, and I think there's a plant like that just outside Bangalore, where you have a lining, you have a deep pit, and it has lining, and then you lay out pipes, and then the solid waste is put into this pit as such, a very large pit, and then these pipes have holes, so the methane is created and then taken out. But the question is again the economic value.